Hello, my name is Cody. Welcome to the Unifying Field podcast, where we journey beyond the black and white into the vast spectrum of human experience. Here we explore the great question of why we are here, seeking wisdom in all traditions and unity in our diversity. My mission is to bridge worlds, uniting hearts and minds through conversation, curiosity, and the shared wonder of existence. So take a deep breath in through your nose, open your mind, and join me as we step into the infinite together. If you listened to my very first episode titled Waking Up, I was talked about some of my spiritual journey through life's struggles. This initial story of me drowning will be familiar to you. But the story wasn't finished. It's still not finished. But I'm building on it as my story unfolds. This is the way everyone's journey goes. We have experiences, we gain wisdom, and a story is created. The story of you. But life continues and more things happen. So our story is modified, and what was once wisdom has been outgrown. And who we think we are changes by the day. And as we change, so does our story. So here we go. I found myself treading water in an endless sea. Up here, it was blissful. I had never experienced anything like this. There's a beautiful blue sky, a sun that is warm and comforting and holds you in its arms as if you are a baby. There's pretty white clouds. It's peaceful here, light, in this place known as the stillness. I could see everything in my life for what it was. None of the problems of life could bother me here, not even the past or the future. No anxiety or depression. I knew what really matters. There was simply peace, emptiness, and the moment was all there is. I had been lost for what seemed like ages, and what felt like a bad dream. And here in this place, this was real, no doubts about it, and I could stay here in this moment for eternity. But the pull of the ocean was so strong. I desperately tried to keep my head above water, while the great ocean grabbed a hold of my ankles and began to pull me under. I didn't want to drown again in the ocean of illusion. Please, please don't let me drown again. But the pull of the ocean is too great. I give all I have to stay above. And I take a deep breath and watch the truth fade away as I'm sucked back into the abyss. As I begin to sink, the air runs out and my lungs fill with water. I desperately hold on to what little bit of peace and truth I had found as I slowly began to lose consciousness. My vision fades, and then it all goes black. I fall back to sleep. And then, with the veil over my eyes, I wake back up into the dream, the prison cell of the mind, back into the world. There I am, trapped with 8 billion other inmates and guards all around me, taunting me, lying to me about who I truly am. But in time, instead of continuing to fight the pull of the ocean, as if fighting to keep my head out of water was helping keep me from drowning, I began to learn to stop treating the ocean as if it were real to begin with. The ocean that I believed to be drowning in was created by my own mind. The powerful waves flowing through me, the emotions that are as powerful as hurricanes, ignited by the storms of daily life. All illusions created by my mind. And I could begin to sit within the waves and watch. I could peek through the veil in the ocean of sensation would dissipate into emptiness. But the ocean was not even the true illusion I gave power to. The real illusion was that of being the person who was drowning. I wasn't the one drowning, but I was consumed by the belief that I was. I don't know that we as humans have experienced anything more powerful than the mind, or if it is even possible. Sure, aspects of this world can destroy the body, but the mind is what torments us with not only the pain of physical ailments, but the pain caused by emotions surging throughout our bodies. It is where the scars of past wounds are held, and where their nightmares are relived. The mind tosses us about like a tiny boat in the giant ocean. And while I say that it is all illusion, what is felt in the human experience is absolutely real when we are in the experience as the affected human being. So don't think I'm taking away from anyone's pain, as it is absolutely real for who is experiencing it. The mind fills us with all nature of thoughts that distort the way we see the world. We endure physical pain in the emotions we feel due to loss. The mind creates the multidimensional experience that we are living as it bridges the worlds of emotion, physical, spiritual, and even imagination. I'm reminded of something Ram Dass would say, which was, Maharshi would tell me, give up your anger. Don't work on your anger. Give it up. Because if you work on your anger, you make it into something real that needs fixed. And that's no good. The paradox arises when we learn that fighting Maya, or cosmic delusion, is a trap. As fighting it, again, is giving it power and making it something that can in fact trap you. So if something happened and you feel anger arise, attaching to it might cause you to act on it. But if you denied its presence and suppressed it, it'll likely hurt you later on as your reservoir of suppressed emotions bursts open and consumes you. Whether you are attached to something or try to push it away, you're trapped by it. This is a fundamental part of Buddhist philosophy. Attachment and aversion are the causes of suffering. And with that, I know it seems like it is hopeless. But it's not. By seeing the trap, you can begin to unravel it. What we are dealing with is a Chinese finger trap. You know, the little woven toy that you stick your finger in on each side. If you tense up and resist its hold by trying to pull your fingers out, it grips your fingers as hard as you resist. But the moment you relax and bring your fingers toward the center, the trap relaxes in as well and releases. What you find is that your fingers were never trapped. It was merely an illusion. This is representative of you as spirit getting lost within the human experience. Welcome to the illusion of the self. This will be a fascinating and deep exploration that will hopefully help you better understand who you aren't. I had a dream recently where I remembered trying to go somewhere. I couldn't tell you where I was trying to go, but it was slow traveling by foot. Soon I met a guy in the dream who had a car and was willing to help me get to where I needed to go. It was like a blue two-door Honda Civic or something. It was rough around the edges, to say the least. We take off on the journey, and this guy wants to stop. We stopped at the small lake as the sun was setting. feel like I was pacing and annoyed, ready to keep going, but he wanted to stay and fish. Now, I almost agreed to that, but I realized, no, we need to keep going. He refused, and I said, fine, I will drive the car. And with that, he conceded. We get back on the road, me in the driver's seat this time, and I notice that this car is in worse shape than I thought. It's especially hard to drive with no power steering. And of course, everything in dreams is exaggerated. Trying to drive through the turns, I found myself struggling to stay on the road. The other guy kept insisting that he drive, and I'm pretty sure I let him after a while. That was all I remembered. And I only remembered the dream around midway through the day, and when I did, I knew exactly what the context was. I was playing the part of soul, and the other guy was my ego, or my identity. We were both trying to operate this physical body, represented by the car, and I was on a mission to make it to some unknown destination. But I needed the help of the ego to help drive the car so we could get there. However, the ego kept getting sidetracked. This is something I want everyone to understand. The ego is not evil, though it may be associated with the Dark Lord, such as when Jesus tells Peter, "Get behind thee, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men." It simply is only worried about earthly things and is easily distracted, chasing fulfillment in things outside of itself, which it never finds, leading you away from your purpose. And this is what I came to realize. I couldn't get to my destination without the help of the ego. While it was a pain at times, and can and will lead you astray, he was the one with the car. In the physical world, there is still identity attached to this body. It is still a husband and dad that goes to work and pays bills and does the best it can within the boundaries of the world. However, today there is no doubt of who I am. More importantly, there is no doubt in who I am not. So why would you want to know the truth about the so-called reality? Why would you want to break the illusion of yourself? First, nothing I speak of is absolute truth. This is merely my own understanding through my own experiences and resulting clarity. You must experience truth to understand truth for yourself. Second, when it comes to why you would want to break the illusion, breaking the illusion and my clarity points directly to the teachings of those great beings who came down to earth to lead us to salvation. And with that being said, let's get familiar with the object of focus for today's episode through the method I will call highlighting. This could also be seen as provocation. But basically, the goal here is just like if you highlighted a section of text, that section will now stand out from the rest. The easiest way to see this object, which is the false self, also known as the ego or the I we identify as, is if it rises in objection. That's right. I want you to provoke the I to show itself. I don't want you to dig into traumas, none of the big stuff. Our focus will be small, but noticeable things. The ego is ever present, even now, but the key is to notice it. If it is completely relaxed and peaceful, you may not notice it, and may even mistake it for your true self. Also, I don't want to ruin your day with this. This is all for fun and helping you learn about yourself. So what I want you to do is to think back to a time when someone said something mean to you or that went against your beliefs. Maybe religious, maybe political. Maybe it was just mean or inconsiderate words aimed towards you or someone you love. Maybe it was some idiot driver who cut you off this morning. What do you feel when you think of that? Did anything rise up just now? If not, try and find something that you haven't resolved. Some annoying person who just gets under your skin when they come to mind. Maybe your significant other forgot to wash the dishes. Or you stepped in dog poop. All right, now let go of that. Don't get hung up in that, as you'll get sucked into the finger trap illusion. Focus back on my words. Hi. Hello. You are awesome and beautiful. Welcome back. Be present with what came up. Did you feel any anger? Frustration? Did anything uncomfortable arise? Is there anything lingering? I would like to introduce you to who you are not. That's right. I would like to introduce you to who you are not. Meet your ego, the I that you speak of. It's not a bad thing. Don't get this twisted. What stands in our way in our search for God is also part of the design that enables a human experience as an individual. This is part of the programming, and in its own way, it is perfect. So it simply is. Perfectly imperfect. Part of the divine design of the universe, the divine comedy. And without it, there would be no reason to come here. Now that you are acquainted with the point of focus, it'll be helpful to understand where the self originated. So let's start there. For whatever reason, you were born into this mysterious world. It is filled with beauty and horror. It is ultra realistic. If you listened to my last episode, Awakening to the Kingdom of God Within, I touched on some of these ideas, but this time we are going deeper. In order to come here, the requirement is that you forget everything you knew before you were born as a physical being. Which makes a lot of sense if you wanted to incarnate on Earth and have a genuine experience, as remembering everything before would be like having cheat codes to the video game. I remember cheat codes being fun for a little bit, but quickly ruined the experience of the game. You would know that none of this is real, and so what would be the point of coming here? But by getting lost in this experience, we build these identities that feel absolutely separate from everything. Our lives become filled with events that both create our worlds and wreck them. And we contribute to the worlds of others in the same ways. This is the beauty and horror of the game. I'm a unique and separate individual who learns by making mistakes. If I hurt someone, I hopefully see the damage that I did. If someone hurts me, I feel what it is like to be hurt. And hopefully I grow from these experiences. I learn about the world and its nature. I learn about good and evil. I eat food as if it is required for me to survive. I feel lonely because I believe in the separateness feeling, and I have friends and maybe one day a partner to share my life with. I fear death and seek meaning and salvation through religion. I gain preferences for foods, hobbies, and so on. I like this. I hate that. We get to feel duality in its most horrifically beautiful forms. Happiness, sadness, joy, suffering, and so on. It's this ultra-realistic soap opera drama that unfolds over a lifetime. And it all began when we were born into this physical vehicle known as a human being. The way I like to describe this divine comedy is the one became two for the fun of becoming two, and then returning to the one. I think now is as good a time as any to say that, as it is, even in its sometimes horrific form, it is all okay as it is. The illusion is part of why we came here. We came here to get lost in the drama, to experience everything I just talked about as an individual. And therefore, leaving it there, it is all perfect as it is. Being an individual is perfect as it is. Being human, having wants and dreams, and making mistakes, and feeling and causing pain, is perfect as it is. It will all play out the way it is meant to play out. And also, perfection doesn't exclude suffering. We are working with many perspectives in this existence. These perspectives range from our limited view to the perspective of whatever you might call the Most High. With that out of the way, now we may dig into the identities that make the illusion happen. I mentioned in the last episode how as language developed, you learned your name and associated it with who you are. I am, in my case, I am Cody. Individuation may have begun earlier, but I have no way of asking that question to my own baby who is developing language herself. So I'll stick with the I am as the beginning. Interesting to note that when Moses asked God what his name was in Exodus 3:14, that God responded, I am. Anyways. Let's create some fictional characters and stories to better understand how identity is created in fantasy, to better understand how our own identity is formed in real life. Meet Elias Rowan. He grew up in a quiet river town where everyone knew his name before he learned to spell it. His childhood carried a soft glow, long afternoons fishing with his grandfather, a mother who filled the house with piano music, teachers who told him he had a storyteller's mind. Then, when he was 15, the river flooded and took his home along with his grandfather in the same week. The town rebuilt. Elias did not. He learned early how to smile while carrying weight, how to become the reliable one when the ground had proven unreliable. That year carved patience into him. It also carved a private fear of loss he never quite shook. As an adult, Elias became a documentary photographer, drawn to people living at the edges of certainty. The work gave him purpose and a quiet way to honor his grandfather's lessons about noticing what matters. But the road also taught him distance. He left relationships unfinished, convinced that staying meant eventually watching everything wash away again. His life became a balance between deep empathy and guarded solitude. He knows how to stand with others in their darkest hours, yet struggles to believe anyone would choose to stand that long with him. In that tension, his identity formed, a man shaped by tenderness, steadied by grief, always learning how to let himself be seen without bracing for the next storm. Next, we have Marisol Vega. She grew up above her parents' corner bakery in a city that never quite slept, learning early that love could smell like warm bread at dawn and sound like laughter echoing down narrow stairwells. Marisol was the kid who organized games for the neighborhood children, the teenager who tutored others after school, the young woman everyone trusted with secrets. But when her father fell ill during her first year of college, responsibility came crashing down faster than her dreams could run. She left school to keep the bakery alive, telling herself it was temporary. Years passed. The shop survived. Her plans quietly faded into the background. And with them went a part of her belief that her own future mattered as much as everyone else's. In her 30s, Marisol began volunteering at a community arts center, teaching painting to kids who reminded her of herself. Something in her reopened there. She started creating again, timid at first, then fiercely. The same hands that kneaded dough now shaped color and light. Yet the old pattern lingered. She still felt guilty when choosing herself, still mistook exhaustion for virtue. Her identity became a delicate weave of devotion and deferred desire, a woman known for showing up for everyone, learning slowly and bravely that she too deserves to be someone worth showing up for. Finally, we have Caleb Ashcroft. He grew up in a house where silence was louder than shouting, a father who vanished into addiction, a mother who vanished into work, and a childhood that taught him how to disappear in plain sight. By 12, Caleb had learned to read moods the way other kids read comics, scanning rooms for danger, measuring every word before he spoke. At 17, he lost his younger sister in a drunk driving accident. The world did not just break. It rearranged itself into something colder. Guilt became his permanent companion, even though logic told him it wasn't his fault. Trauma taught him that love could vanish without warning, and that safety was a temporary condition at best. As an adult, Caleb built a life that looked solid from the outside. Stable job, clean apartment, calm demeanor. Inside, everything echoed. Nightmares came dressed as memories. He avoided deep relationships, not because he didn't want connection, but because closeness felt like giving fate another weapon. Yet even in the darkness, something stubborn stayed alive in him. He volunteers quietly at a crisis hotline, listening to strangers in pain because he understands that kind of silence too well. His identity formed in the tension between damage and devotion, a man shaped by loss, haunted by what he couldn't save, and still choosing again and again to be the person he once needed but never had. Pause for a moment and think of what shaped your identity and the stories you hold on to. These stories from past experiences are the framework for the identity. Without all of these events happening to each of these fictional characters, they would simply be. However, things do happen in this world, and they really do affect us and mold us into the person we embody. You may think of the major events or stories as the frame of the house that is you. We'll arbitrarily call the foundation the point of expressing I am. The major events become the frame for the house. Whereas before, there was simply space. The frame begins to put up walls which help you stand, supported within the world. And eventually you become a fully enclosed house, completely independent from everything else. The many rooms within the house become places where you can store things you accumulate throughout your life. This could be a number of things, including good memories and useful attributes. Some things are useful which support your purpose and mission, like the furniture of the house. But other stuff may not be useful anymore. This could be called baggage. Baggage is rarely thought of as a good thing in our world. We take this baggage from one situation to another, most often causing unnecessary damage. The wounds we carry from one relationship to the next is a prime example. It's a lot like all the extra junk we lug around from one house to another that we don't really use or need, which is why storage unit complexes pop up everywhere. Everyone has a ton of stuff we put off doing something with, and it haunts us in one way or another. Because if we refuse to let it go, we waste money on stuff that takes more from us than it serves us. The mind certainly does the exact same thing as physical clutter. It happily acquires junk that detracts from our lives instead of serving us. So at a minimum, performing a spring cleaning can free up space to improve our lives. But even better, we can begin to see through the framework that our entire reality is filtered through. We may begin to see what life truly is without filters. We are conditioned to believe that safety, security, and community are gained by acquiring things we attach to our identity. I am part of this group and then that group. But what once felt like a safe and sturdy structure to live life through actually created barriers between ourselves and others. It created a flimsy yet solid object for mean words to stick to, and an individual who could be hurt by it. We elevate some people and view others as lower, instead of as fellow humans living in a complex world. One might say, I am middle class, so I can't relate to the rich or the poor, and yet very easily could be one or the other the next day. Another might say, I'm a Christian. Anyone who doesn't believe that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior is going to hell, and thus they cannot relate to the people of any other faith or non-faith, and may even withhold love and compassion from them. Democrat and Republican. My side is righteous, fighting the pure fight, standing bravely against the other side in the name of what exactly? Love? Is it love if it is fiercely offered to some and carefully withheld from others? Everywhere you look, it's walls. Walls of principle, walls of belief, walls built from certainty. One side wages war in the language of compassion, the other in the language of God and order. Different banners, same architecture. We love our walls, especially the walls of righteousness. They give the ego somewhere to stand, something to defend, something to be against. Defend from what? Imaginary enemies. Shadow figures we project onto one another, and then fear. But whoever we are beneath the house we built has no walls at all. That goes for everyone. Even without the stories we hold on to, we still are unbound and free. It doesn't need anywhere to stand because it is everywhere. Yet when we forget this, we begin to limit what we really are, placing conditions on life's most meaningful expressions: love, compassion, service, and so on. The house doesn't need to be demolished. That's not where I'm going with all of this. The house serves a purpose. But when we mistake ourselves only for the house, we turn something fluid and infinite into something rigid and fragile, something that feels threatened and needs defended. The house can be damaged because it is of the earth. You cannot. You are infinite. If you are truly your identity, when you die, you will return back to the earth from which you came. This is a difficult thing to think about. Cody, as a human identity and form, will not go to heaven. No, he will not go to hell either, even if you are sure he will go to one of two places. He will die with the body, though may live in memory for a generation or two. Everything he thought he was will die with him. The physical elements of the body will separate from the form and return to the earth. Animals and bugs will consume what they can, and the earth will absorb the rest. If you made an impact on the world, good or bad, that may live on for a period. The major events in history last thousands of years, but most impacts are simply forgotten. The human mind has a short memory, and on the average perspective, most of us won't be remembered for more than 2 generations below us. Why? Our great-grandkids will likely have neither met us or will forget us because they were really small when we were around. This is simply the nature of Earth. We carry people as far as we can, but ultimately, everything of the earth will dissolve back into the earth from which it came. You might be saying that these people are more than that. Yes, I agree with you. These people are beautiful. They did amazing things, and we love them with all of our hearts. But their identities and their accomplishments are expressions of the human experience, not definitions of the spirit itself. So yes, we are all more than these human identities we put on for 100 or so years. And no, I'm not saying that you simply cease to exist when you die. Which brings us to the obvious question. If we are not these things, then what are we? Ramana Maharshi taught a method called self-inquiry, centered on a single question. Who am I? You ask it, and you listen. I am Cody. No, that's the name associated with my human body. I am a man who is from this part of the world. Nope. Man refers to this body, and earth is self-explanatory. What else do you have? He thinks some more. I am a husband and dad. Nope. Those are human roles I play. Not that either. Each time the mind answers, you look again. You keep peeling back layers until there's nothing left to label. Anything you can attach I or I am to, you are not. You move past the labels, then the body, then the senses, and eventually you arrive at the thoughts themselves. So ask, who is thinking? Who is aware of the thought? Who notices the question? Who is here? That's it. It is really that simple, yet incredibly profound. Now, how does this relate to Christianity? In the verse that says, I am the vine, you are the branches, he who abides in me. So who is abiding in God? It's not the human identity. that abides in separation, that righteousness from earlier, Republican or Democrat, and so on, and location, and roles and concerns of the world. Scripture speaks often of losing one's life, of dying daily, of being born again. This is not simply symbolic. So who abides in God after the old self dies? Anything you can define, limit, or conceptualize, you are not. You cannot put walls around something that has no need for walls. Walls only exist to separate. And what you are was never separate to begin with. So what then? Am I calling you God? Not in the ego sense, the title of God. I am the creator. I am the Alpha and Omega. It is my words that enter your ears. No. Absolutely, positively, probably not. But we are complicated. More complicated than our limited egoic minds are built to understand. So yeah, I am not giving you that title. Figure it out for yourself. Based on my own ideas and feeling, we're both in and of God. Independent enough to carry out whatever our purpose is, yet never outside of him or her, whatever floats your boat. God is of all, within all, throughout all, ever present. And the idea that we could ever be separate from God is just as big an illusion as having an identity that is completely independent from him. So what can you do with this? If who you think you are is an illusion, then what now? This is where the paradox shows up. You can take everything we've talked about and go searching for the truth, for God within, for enlightenment, for freedom. And eventually, every sincere seeker runs into the same discovery. The one who seeks will not be the one who finds. Not because the search is wrong, but because what you were looking for was never missing. The ego cannot become enlightened. It won't realize the kingdom of God within. It can only dissolve or get out of the way. And what you truly are doesn't need to arrive anywhere. It already is. That doesn't make the search pointless. The search is beautiful. It's worthy. It softens us. It orients us. It prepares us to recognize what's been quietly present the entire time. And it also helps you understand who you are not. Along the way, I've questioned what I'm doing with this podcast. Am I trying to wake people up? Am I trying to lead people anywhere? And the answer is no. I don't believe that to be my role. But I do know this. People suffer. Life is heavy. And many of us carry that weight alone, believing we are weak, powerless, or trapped in circumstances we can't change. I don't believe that we are powerless and can't change our lives for the better. I also don't deny that God or angels or demons or karma or any of it doesn't have some kind of impact on us. But if we are in God and of God, then we are only as powerless as we believe ourselves to be. You don't have to tear the veil completely to live better. You don't have to wake up all at once. Intentional work, gentle awareness, and honest self-inquiry can dramatically change how we experience this human life and the impact we can have on others. And if awakening happens along the way, that's fine too. I'll end with a line from Illusions by Richard Bach because it says everything I've been trying to say. The original sin is to limit the is. Don't. Thank you for joining me on this journey today with the Unifying Field podcast. We've touched on just a fraction of the vastness that connects us all. But remember, the exploration never ends. Keep asking questions, keep seeking answers, and stay curious. As we part ways, may you carry a little more wonder, a little more peace, and a renewed sense of connection with the world around you. Until next time, take a deep breath, question everything, and remember, the infinite is always within reach. Please like and subscribe, and share with anyone you think may enjoy this type of content.